Cowboys offense was without 4/5 of their offensive line, all-world wide receiver CeeDee Lamb and his backup Kevontae Turpin, and also running back 2 in Miles Sanders. Those were all of the players these guys were without. Do you want to start pass rush, secondary, run defense, or effort? What is your preference here?
Pick of the litter here. I'll go with pass defense because I just want to focus on, everybody went into this game thinking if the Jets don't stop Ryan Flournoy, they're screwed. That's the one thing I kept saying all week, if you remember. So that's
all right. So you want to start with the secondary?
Yes, I want to start with the secondary.
All right.
The fact that George Pickens is going to make some great plays, like he does it even against good coverage. He's also going to make some boneheaded ones. They did, other than the coverage bust, which we'll get into. Like he was. He didn't dominate the game, but Ryan Flournoy had over 100 yards before halftime. Like, this is a guy, I don't have the 3 schools in front of me. He went to 3 mid-major / non-Division I schools or non-FBS schools.
Well, if he went to Monmouth, he's probably a first-round pick. I'm just going to say.
He didn't. He went to South Missouri State and it's community college and another one.
If he went to Monmouth, he'd have had 200 on Sunday. Just saying.
You already did the Monmouth promo. You don't need to keep doing it. And this guy, he was on the practice squad at the start of the season. He was a 6th-round pick last year, and the Jets just let him run wild over them. And I know a lot of that has to do with Dak Prescott, but the pass defense. I had a stat that I tweeted out. I don't know when we're throwing it up, but or if we are. But he opposing offenses, I think when they complete passes, 64% of them are either first downs or touchdowns, which is far and away the worst in the NFL. It's the worst the Jets have had since 2000 at least, because that's as far back as True Media goes. Just think about that. 6 out of every 10 completion is either a first down or a touchdown. That is an embarrassment for a team that for a few years with DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner and Mike Carter II when he was healthy and, okay safeties and linebackers that were better in coverage. This was one of the better pass coverage teams in the NFL. They were shutting down quarterbacks left and right. They made CJ Stroud look like nothing. They made C.J. Stroud look like nothing. This is not that defense anymore. You pointed out, actually I won't step on it because you want to cover other parts of the defense. But yeah, the pass defense has just been rough. And it's, ironically, Brandon Stevens hasn't been the problem as much the last couple of weeks. It's been everybody else. Malachi Moore played nickel for some reason. I don't know why they played him over Jarvis Brownlee. But
because they traded
Brandon
for Brownlee
Stevens
to play in the nickel.
Yeah, Brandon Stevens is one of the few guys that has been tackling well. Also, Sauce actually had a couple good tackles too. But the secondary being this bad, when you have a coach in Aaron Glenn, you have a defensive backs coach in Chris Harris, you have Dre Bly, all these guys that were supposed to be one of the better coaching staffs in terms of defensive back development in the NFL. It has been a disaster on the back end.
Horrible. And I talked to one defensive coordinator in the NFL about this. And he watched again because I watched the All-22, but I'm not a defensive coordinator. I'm not. I didn't even stay at a Holiday Inn, so I can't even pretend to be one. These guys are, though, and he watched the film for me and watched it with me, and he just kind of explained to me what he was seeing. The Jets were constructed over the last 4 years to be primarily a zone-based defense. That's what they were. And a lot of the players they got, whether it was Carter or Sauce Gardner or the guys in the secondary, were primarily zone-based guys. And Sauce is an elite-level player, and he has the ability to go man-to-man with people, and you saw that against Pickens. In fact, the numbers even against Pickens weren't that terrible. He was targeted 4 times, allowed 2 catches. One was the first down on 3rd and 9, which is slant, and then one was the touchdown, which Sauce made very clear after the game that he expected safety help. But he was telling me that when he looks at the secondary, he sees a bunch of guys that are ready to play zone coverage, but Aaron Glenn and Steve Wilks want them to play man coverage. But then now they're trying to transition back a little bit to zone coverage because that's what these guys are better at. But the problem is that this coaching staff doesn't have a lot of experience coaching zone coverage, so they're out of water, and you just have a colossal mismatch of badness. And it's true, dude. It was bad from top to bottom. I mean, the pass rush not getting home, which we're going to get to in a second, absolutely played a factor in this, but guys are just open. And Brandon Stevens, he was the best of the bunch. He still allowed 3 catches for 60 yards, including that 46-yarder on the free play because I think it was Quinnen or Will McDonald jumped off sides. The safeties remain a complete and total disaster. Andre Sisco wasn't good last year with the Jaguars, right? Like, he wasn't good. And now, like, the Jets get him, and they're like, we think he's going to be good. Well, he's not. And Brandon Stevens has been the best of the bunch in the secondary, but he hasn't really been good either, which, oh, by the way, goes back to in Baltimore, where he was not very good. And Tony Adams, I think, right now is just swimming. Like, he has no confidence in himself. He doesn't feel any confidence from the coaching staff. He feels out of place in this scheme, and you feel for him as a result. I don't think Tony Adams is this bad. Do I think Tony Adams is an above-average starter in the league? No, but we've seen in the last couple of years, he's not this bad. He's not a great box player. He's going to struggle immensely in tackling, but he's not somebody that is this bad. And I don't even know where to go with it, Zach, but that number you said, almost 65% of the passes resulting in a first down or touchdown, it's nuts, man. It is absolutely mind-boggling. And we'll go from secondary, because how are you going to keep like just harping on all of this stuff over and over and over again? But directly tied to that is this pass rush.
Yeah.
Will McDonald was a player that the Jets, this staff, Aaron Glenn specifically, could not wait to reach around and pat himself on the back for what we were seeing from him. You remember the play where he bulldozed Armand Membo in training camp? Again, like, Will was beating everybody with speed. Membo very clearly set up to combat the speed. That caught him off balance, and Will just went right through him with a bulldoze. We talked to Glenn after it, and in his typical kind of quick, just fire at insult / compliment, asked what's different with Will this year. He said coaching, and reiterated coaching. A literal shot right across the country at Robert Saleh, and a shot right down south at Jeff Ulbrich as defensive coordinator of the Falcons, both of whom's defenses, by the way, are playing immensely better right now, with just as many injuries or worse than what the New York Jets are right now. Could not wait to pat himself on the back. Opener looked like it was the right call because Will had 2 sacks and 3 quarterback hits and was stellar. Since that opening game, Zach, do you know these numbers? Do you know how many quarterback sacks Will McDonald has since the opener?
He doesn't have any, right?
Correct. Do you know how many quarterback hits he has since the opener?
It's like 1 or something like that.
It's 1. Do you know what his Pro Football Focus grade is?
Not good.
57.8. Do you know what that is, that football grade?
Bad.
The worst of his career. So you not only now have a secondary that's struggling, you have a pass rush that's not getting home. Quinnen Williams is the same. 0 quarterback hits, 0 sacks since the opener. Had a PFF grade of 51.3 against the Cowboys. Jermaine Johnson should be back either this week or next, but I don't think Jermaine Johnson is going to fix everything. And Zach, you and I were texting about this right now. This number, I think, is what just blows my mind more than anything else. The Jets are blitzing on 31.4% of their plays. That's 7th highest in the NFL. A complete and total change from the years underneath Ulbrich and Saleh, which makes sense. Saleh, Ulbrich, they don't believe in blitzing. They want to drop everybody back, pressure with their front 4, and play coverage on the rest. Despite the fact, though, they are blitzing 7th most of any team in the NFL. They have a pressure rate of 28%, which is 32nd in the NFL. Read between the lines there, right? Analyze this. Analyze this number. That means that the Jets are bringing guys, taking guys out of coverage to try to get home. They're not coming home, which means a quarterback now is taking advantage of a secondary that already isn't good and is now undermanned because their help is rushing. It's a disaster.
I mean, the way you can diagnose that, it could be one of 2 things, if not both of them. And one is either the blitz aren't clever or creative enough to the point where they're not throwing the offense off guard, which, is pretty embarrassing when you go against a Cowboys team with 4 out of 5 guys not in there. Or it's that the guys aren't doing it the right way and or not getting home, which, also kind of ties back to coaching to a degree. So, this is supposed to be a fun, aggressive defense. I do think they're missing Quincy Williams in this regard because I think he was someone who's really built to be a really good blitzer.
Yeah.
And, the back end guys, you can't really trust these guys at this point. So, if the blitzes aren't getting home, and the defensive linemen aren't winning their one-on-one matchups, and Quinnen's getting double and triple teamed and all that still, but the other guys are not winning their matchups at the end of the day, and you're playing Brady McGregor a lot, and you're playing Tyler Barron way more than you should be, and so they're not winning up front, in which, you talk about Saleh's defense a lot. They didn't blitz at all. They predicated it on those guys winning up front and just winning their one-on-ones. And a couple of years ago, just think about how good the defensive line was when they had Bryce Huff, they had Sheldon Rankins, John Franklin Myers, and Quinnen Williams. That was the best version of this defensive line probably. And those guys were all winning their matchups. And so that made life easier for Sauce Gardner, for DJ Reed, for Michael Carter II, and for the safeties, which have always been kind of average. But, everything starts up front. Aaron Glenn has said as much, and they're not winning up front on either side of the ball, frankly, but especially not on defense right now. And until they make waves on the defensive line, I don't know what kind of changes they can make, because you can't really bench any of these guys because they don't have anybody else on the roster. So, I don't know where you go. I don't know what you do, but this defensive line is, pass rush wise is really, really bad. And,
terrible, man.
No
one's winning.
And if you don't have stars on the back end, if you're not as talented on the back end, and you're putting these guys on an island and, they're not getting help and things like that makes their life harder too. So, it's not a well-coached team, and it's not a team that executes their plays very well.
And it's the players that they need are players that they had. They had Bryce Huff, your situational rusher, and Huff wanted to come back to the Jets, and there was a contract ready to go out to the Jets the game after Mike White's ribs basically exploded against the Buffalo Bills, and spending was put on a hold. The Jets were told you are not to spend any more money the rest of this year. So the contract to Bryce Huff never went out. John Franklin Myers was a leader within the locker room and a force on the field, and he was traded because the Jets people within the building wanted this flashy toy that was Hassan Reddick, and then Reddick and the contract and all that other stuff. Zack, Dak Prescott kept clean on 27 of his dropbacks, playing behind an offensive line that was missing 4/5 of their starters. And when he was kept clean, he was 17 of 25 for 197 and 4 touchdowns. I mean, that's good. I mean, that's good. And the other thing, and we're going to talk more about Prescott comparing him to Fields in a little bit, but he's good, man. That guy is good. He gets so much from people across the NFL and just ripped and criticized, and I get it. He's got to do it in the playoffs like every major player does. But, dude, I've watched him go up against the Giants now when I cover those games. I've watched him go against the Jets. That dude is a good football player. He is just a good football player, and he's tough. That hit he took up the middle, I think it was Sherwood, destroyed him, and he pops right back up and still keeps throwing passes. I mean, he's just a really good football player.
So we just got a text in a group message you and I are in. I guess on part of my take, they called Steve Wilkes. They called him Steve Wilkes Booth for his defensive game plan.
I got to shout out, pardon my take. I got to give Memes, their producer, absolutely had me rolling on the floor laughing at their episode last week. So Memes is a huge Jets fan, for those of you guys that don't know. He decided that he was going to take over the Jets and do a rebuild in Madden. In Madden football, he's going to take over the Jets and do a rebuild. So he got his team, he traded a bunch of guys, got a bunch of draft picks, was ready to do the rebuild. He got fired in the offseason. So Woody Johnson fired Memes in the Madden franchise, and he wasn't even able to see his rebuild through. So that was, I think, absolutely hysterical. 2 more topics to talk about here with the Jets on defense, Zach, and we can run through them pretty quick. Run defense and effort. Run defense. You want to talk about that 66-yard runs by Javonte Williams?
Yeah, I do actually. So I tweeted out a few screenshots from the play.
Amazing. Dude.
I don't know if fun's the right way to say it, but there's moments in a play where if you just screenshot at the right time, you're like, okay, this play probably ended right here, or this play went for a lot of yards, and it's the opposite. But so Javonte Williams, he arrives at the line of scrimmage, and Tyler Barron's there waiting for him, and Tyler Barron just slides right off him as if Javonte Williams is covered in oil or something. He just slid right off him, and then Javonte goes to the next level, and there's literally 4 Jets defenders in the area. There's maybe a blocker or 2, and 2 of them aren't even close, and then 2 completely miss the tackle. So then Javonte Williams, who is having a good year, but he's not a burner or a star running back by any means. He gets all the way to the 1. Malachi Moore has a hustle play to tackle him at the 1. The next play, Jake Ferguson's wide open in the end zone for a touchdown. But that play just exemplified all their tackling issues this year, their personnel problems, the fact that Tyler Barron's on the field at all. He should not be. That was, frankly, it's pretty clear he was not a great pick. I mean, he was a 5th-round pick. You get what you can, but he's not someone who looks like he belongs on the field ultimately. And so you have defensive linemen who can't make the plays when they're right in front of them. Which, that's execution. That's where, coaches say, well, look, he was there, but he didn't tackle him. But, yeah, none of these guys are tackling anybody. So, it's man, that was an embarrassment for the defense. They've had a few of those moments throughout this season, but that one in particular where you just look at the play, they had many opportunities to bring him down, couldn't do it. And I didn't see any Javonte Williams quotes after the game, but I imagine he probably didn't expect to get as many yards as he did there, I would say.
No, but really headsy play by Williams, too. The one thing that stands out is if you noticed him running towards the sideline, if he was tackled at the 1 yard inbounds, or if he cut inside trying to score, thought he was going to go, and he went down around the 1 or 2 yard line, there's a good chance the Cowboys get no points there, because you now have to have they had no timeouts. You have to have the entire line, receivers, quarterback, all get to line, set, snap the ball. I don't know if they get the playoff in time. So really heads up play by Williams to get out of bounds at the 1 and give the Cowboys 2 more shots to try to get in the end zone. Obviously, they only needed 1. I will say this about the Jets' run defense. Aside from that 66-yard run, which was a disaster, Williams only had 15 for 69 on all of his other rush attempts. And there was a lot of just run the ball, milk the clock there in the second half, and opportunities for him to get. I mean, that's still a 4.6 yard per carry average. That's still good. But it wasn't like this was them gashing. So the run defense, which had been so bad, actually, Will McDonald, we were just criticizing him as a rusher earlier. He had another decent day setting the edge. Actually had a nice tackle on Williams coming around the backside. He's been getting better. Braden McGregor, who had a sack, actually graded out pretty well this game in run defense specifically. So the Jets weren't horrible against the run. That 66-yard run makes the stats look worse than they are. So that's a semi-minor positive if you want to hang on it. The no positives, I think, is effort. And that's the last thing I really have to talk about with the defense before we'll transition here to the offense is like the 14 missed tackles per next gen. Again, guys just bouncing off the screenplay to Ferguson where I think it was Stevens just kind of threw out an arm and he ran right through it. Malachi Moore on the first play of the Fournoy or first series Fournoy where he misses the tackle. He ends up picking like 30, 40 yards after that one. And I think, Zach, the biggest issue that I have right now about this defense, and I think both of us are, except for when you were covering the Eagles, both of us are experts in covering bad football teams right now and teams that really are going through it. Usually, you see something in the first 2 weeks that stinks and is bad. And then they do things to fix it. And it gets fixed. And then when you're a bad football team, usually something else pops up. And then you have to fix that. But like you can at least make some strides or see some progress, especially when you have a team that has legitimate talent like the Jets. The problem is that nothing is getting better with this team right now. The same problems that we circled, you can literally go back and listen to this show after the opener against the Steelers, and the same crap we were talking about this defense struggling with after that game, they are still struggling with it on October 6th after they just lost again to the Dallas Cowboys. The coverage, people are wide open in the secondary. The pass rush isn't getting home as you hoped. They're missing tackles. It's poor assignments. It's effort issues. It's guys hanging their head. And it's happening over and over and over again. And I genuinely don't know how you fix it because Aaron Glenn made it very clear he is not taking play calling from Steve Wilks. The only way it happens is if ownership comes in strong and says, we are taking play calling. And that doesn't seem like it's happening. So I genuinely don't know how you fix it. I did hear a player tell me that it basically, quote, this blank is crazy, I can't even explain it, regarding like this defense. Like you can't put words into it, and I don't know how you fix it.
I mean, I think these guys are shocked too. Like I think like they're shell shocked by how bad it's gone, and I think that has led to more mistakes happening because you have guys overcompensating, and that's why you see a lot of the penalties a lot of the times. But yeah, I mean, effort and want to, like, that has to come from within. Like, I don't know how much Aaron Glenn can pull that out. And this goes back to the convo we had last week where I said, who is the guy on this team, especially on the defense, who is the guy that's going to like rally everybody, the energy guy, the energy giver, the guy that's going to rally the troops and get everybody to buckle up. You don't want to hear that they had a players-only meeting because that usually spells disaster, but you need somebody to get this group to care more. Like, not to say they don't care, but like to, the energy, the way they play, like when things fall apart, like not letting it, landslide. Like that. This is a team that has struggled with that year in, year out, and I don't know who is in this locker room to shake everybody together and get them on the right track.